The first round of international sanctions has been swift and severe after Russian President Vladimir Putin said he is sending troops into eastern Ukraine. Now, Putin calling them peacekeeping troops, but the U.S. is saying no.
So just a few minutes ago, we learned Secretary of State Antony Blinken said he canceled his Thursday meeting with Russia's foreign minister because, quote, it does not make sense to go forward. The Biden administration called that explanation nonsense and is accusing the Kremlin of creating a pretext for further invasion. President Biden laid the sanctions out after Russian President Vladimir Putin recognized two regions of Ukraine as independent.
Now, the European Union is also moving forward with economic sanctions, and in a pretty significant move, Germany has announced it will halt the $11 billion Nord Stream 2 pipeline that would have moved natural gas from Russia to Germany. Russia has now announced it will pull its diplomatic staff out of Ukraine as unidentified military vehicles continue to move in.
We're going to judge Russia by its actions, not its words. And whatever Russia does next, we're ready to respond with unity, clarity, and conviction.
To further bolster NATO's eastern flank, President Biden says he's authorized additional movements of U.S. forces and equipment to Baltic allies. Speaking in South Carolina, Senator Lindsey Graham said he and other lawmakers are working on their own legislation to give more assistance to Ukraine and possibly create a multi-agency task force to target Russian oligarchs.
All right, here's a map now just to kind of explain some of the territories that we're talking about. So Ukraine obviously sitting right along Russia's southwest border, and it's highlighted this area that is in eastern Ukraine specifically that Russian President Vladimir Putin has recognized as independent. So these breakaway regions really are in the Ukraine, but they're held by rebels who are fully backed by Russia.
So world leaders, including the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, has condemned Putin's remarks, calling the recognition in breach of international law and a flagrant violation of the sovereignty and integrity of Ukraine.
So all of these escalating tensions, of course, between Russia and Ukraine sent oil prices higher today and stocks tumbled at the market's open. Brent crude, which is the global benchmark for oil, jumped 2%. U.S. crude prices also inched higher. That typically does translate to more money out of your pocket when filling up at the tank.
Well, we're hearing from the Ukrainian community here in Washington state, trying to help friends and family that may be on the edge of war.
Tonight, Farah Jadran, who is from our sister station in Seattle, is showing us the humanitarian efforts that are already underway.
There are about 100,000 Ukrainians living in Washington state, and we spoke to leaders in the community who are in contact with family in Ukraine. They're waiting for what's been an ongoing conflict for about 8 years now, quickly escalating in the past few days. And today, Lydia McKinnon with the Ukrainians Association of Washington State said they're ready to help even while thousands of miles away from their loved ones.
We're partnering with organizations that are already established in Ukraine, and that could be medical, it could be just basic humanitarian aid.
McKinnon says Ukrainians in Washington state are also calling on Congress to push for sanctions on Russia. She said relatives in Ukraine have gone on living their lives the best they can, knowing this invasion was going to happen at any time. And just this morning, the White House did declare Russia's moves into eastern Ukraine as an invasion.
So obviously, this is a situation that has been developing hour by hour, so things could certainly change here just in the next few hours. We'll keep you posted on all of those developments.
Wow.